I don't want to see a ghost. It's the sight that I fear most. I'd rather have a piece of toast and watch the evening news. Life, oh life, oh life, oh life. Do, 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 do. Yeah, I always thought that being a ghost would be the best thing in the world. Oh, how naive I was. Let me tell you, being a ghost is downright depressing and leaves you with the constant feeling of dread in your stomach, which never goes away. Oh, how did I become a ghost? Well, I died. No offense, but that was a pretty dumb question. I died after getting hit by a double-decker bus over on Mohawk Avenue. After becoming a ghost, the ruler of the underworld, Kibosh, placed me in the care of my smelly ghost uncles. Their names were Stinky, Stretch, and Fatso. They made my life a living pain in the neck, forced me to do all of their ghostly chores. My uncles and I resided at the Applegate Mansion due to Kibosh not wanting us to hang out in the underworld. Didn't want us in the underworld as he believed he would discover his deep, dark secret. Kibosh was Slimer's brother. Yeah, not even joking on that one. Drink your Ecto Cooler. Now, out of all my uncles, Stretch was by far the worst offender by giving me boring chores to do. You see, Stretch is desperate to prove himself to Kibosh and his really annoying and downright ugly assistant, Snivel. Snivel was a pretty darn ugly little duckling who first met Kibosh at a salad bar up in Kent. Snivel was really frickin' annoying, often spurts his annoying catchphrase, which is, "The sniveliest Snivel's finest slither." It was so obnoxious that my ghostly uncles got annoyed quickly by the bastard. However, they couldn't do anything about it due to Snivel being Kibosh's best friend, and only friend, actually. That's really sad. Really. Anyway, as I said before, my uncles forced me to do their chores. My uncles also really loved scaring the shit out of people who came to visit the mansion. That's just sick. They'd pull horrific pranks and tell even worse bad puns while pulling pranks on people. One time, a group of people came to the mansion with the intent of knocking it down so they could turn it into a brand new mini-mall. However, my uncles were able to defeat the workers by destroying all of their heavy machinery. Fatso, meanwhile, caused an incredibly fat, smelly worker to start shaking uncontrollably. "Simon says, shake your body!" Fatso laughed as he made the worker shake more and more. You know, that worker's dead now. Harlem Shake. So stop laughing and start packing. And listen up. I've tried my best to get my uncles taken away to Area 69. I even hired a special detective to look into my uncle's annex. The detective's name was Sam Bramsbury. Apparently, that's apparently in ghost talk, Bramsbury wasn't fazed at all by the fact that I was, you know, a ghost. Special Detective Sam Bramsbury, Sam to my friends on spread to my enemies, Sam proclaimed while holding his mighty finger up into the air. Sadly, my uncles were very crafty and knew fully well that I'd hired Sam. They ended up giving Sam a rather nasty case of the pig flu. Certainly hope it was pig flu anyway, and, well, you know. Bramsbury was very embarrassed by the flu as he was quite a socially awkward little penguin. He was forced to attend an incredibly upper-class party up in central London where he spent the entire party sneezing into people's suits. "Oh, sorry," Sam said as he hid behind some lady's dress. Or some dudes who was into it, but whatever. Also, according to Sam's answer machine, it would take him over 9,000 weeks to recover from the flu. So, buggering Buggerton. Ahem. Sorry about that incredibly long tangent. I just like talking about Sam Bramsbury. I'm British, can't you tell? My voice? I'm obviously British. Anyway, my uncles have decided and told me time and time again that if I don't learn how to be scary, I'll be forced to leave the mansion for good. Stretch went on to say that the trio would send a formal letter of complaint over to Kibosh. Also, I should mention that Kibosh could never get my name right, which made me feel incredibly awkward as you do when you're as bland as a piece of toast. I tried my best to prove my worth to the trio, but they were having none of it. They'd given me a deadline of 3 days to prove my scaring worth to them before they sent their letter to Dearest Kibosh. The 3 days eventually did pass, and the trio sent their letter to Kibosh, who told them that he would arrive at the mansion right after sundown. 3 days to resurrection, kids. You know how it is. On the morning before Kibosh's arrival, I headed outside of the mansion to get some fresh air. I was a ghost, though. I didn't have any lungs. What the fuck? To think of a way to show my uncles I could scare people just as effectively as they could. On my travels, I was intercepted by some dodgy-looking dude who was wearing a large, even smellier trench coat. What a life. Hey, buddy, want some of these? The man, who looked strangely like Detective Dick Gumshoe, asked as he opened his coat, revealing loads of DVDs. I scanned through the DVDs until one particular DVD caught my interest. It was a Garfield Show DVD. The Garfield Show is a CG animated series all about Garfield, and it's vastly inferior to that Garfield Show with the Bill Murray sounding guy. It's the first animated made based on the made based on the made based on the made based on the based on the Lasagne loving cat to come out since Garfield and Friends back in the 1990s. Now, personally, I did not grow up with Garfield and Friends. I live in a trailer and only grew up watching Garfield Show. I loved that show growing up because I wasn't well, but I'm sadly no longer able to watch it due to our mansion not having a satellite dish for some reason. Probably because I'm shit poor. I haven't taken a shower in 25 years. I asked the man about the Garfield Show DVD, and he said, "It's really freaky, little buddy. I mean, pal. I mean, seriously. It'll make you shit your pants like some kind of Papa Smurf." This could be the key to proving my worth to my ghostly uncles. And so, in my utmost ghostly wisdom, I decided that I'd buy it. Big mistake. The man then proceeded to ask if I wanted a sundial to go with the DVD. Maybe? I said as all of a sudden Stretch appeared on the scene and yelled, "Casper, what are you doing out here? Kibosh is going to be at the mansion in exactly 1 hour." As it turns out, I'd been out a lot longer than I thought I had been. What a shitload of fuck. It was already 6 o'clock in the evening. Stretch ended up screaming a wicked, ghostly scream at the guy, which caused him to run down the streets in a state of panic and drop a packet of ramen noodles on a cat. Stretch then asked, "What's that in your hands, Casper?" "Oh, this? Well, it's a DVD. I thought we could watch it in order to outpass the time before Kibosh gets here." "All right, but we don't accommodate thugs," Stretch said. Whatever the fuck that means. We then proceeded to make our way back to the mansion. Arriving at the mansion, the Maniac Mansion, I made my way towards the sitting room where Fatso and Stinky were gloating about how many people the trio had succeeded in scaring away today. Stretch and I made our presence known by chucking a DVD down the coffee table. "Huh? What's this?" Fatso asked as he picked the DVD up and scanned it over. I should also mention that the cover of the DVD was a picture of Garfield and Odie being chased by ghosts. It smelled horrible, like a rotten kebab, if you know what I mean. Also, the drawing was very poor. It looked like it was made in MS Paint. My uncles were all delighted by the DVD. "Oh, my wickers, I love Garfield. We simply must watch it," Stinky proclaimed happily, like some kind of Spyro the Dragon sound-alike from blue-collar Spyro the Dragon TV PlayStation game. "Well, we better hurry, because Kibosh is going to be here in half an hour," Stretch cried as Fatso switched the TV on. He then proceeded to pop the DVD into the Xbone. We didn't own a DVD player at the mansion, but we did own an original Xbox I like to call an Xbone because I'm a ghost, get it? Actually, that'd make more sense if I was a skeleton. I apologize. We all hovered above the sofas. Fatso made the Xbox DVD remote float in the air as ghosts tend to do, you know, bitch. The DVD started by showing some copyright warnings as usual, but what the hell do we care? We were dead. The DVD then cut to show a brief ad which had two dudes drinking latte in a local cafe. They were whining about how much car insurance costs, of all things. "Look, car insurance, what can you do?" one of the men asked, when all of a sudden some opera singer-looking dude appeared on the scene. "Oh, I recognized him instantly. It was the Go Compare Man, or Geo for short. Go compare, when you insure you must be sure to go compare. Geo sang as his loud singing caused me to get HIV, and the two guys just spilled their lattes all over the damn place. The hell kind of ad was this? The DVD then did an abrupt cut to the main menu. It was nothing special. It was just a generic picture of Garfield smiling at the screen like a friggin' loser who needed a job, but he was lazy. You know, it's Garfield. The picture wasn't even from the Garfield show. It was from that live-action Garfield movie. Now, this nearly made me vomit. But because I'm a ghost, I don't vomit. If I did, I'm pretty sure it'd be ecto cooler. The music playing in the background was the song Have a Nice Day by the Britpop band Stereophonics, you foreigners wouldn't know. Fatso made the remote click on play episode, and with that, the episode began with the normal theme song. Oh no, the theme just wasn't correct. No, it's pretty darn smelly, to be honest with you, dear listener. For starters, the intro was in slow-mo, and John Arbuckle was nowhere to be seen. You know, the thing with John is that he's a loser, so he's always there to be seen, except when he's at work, you know. He's got nothing else to do. Also, when Odie's confronted by the smelly gang of neighborhood dogs, he got torn to shreds. Later, when Vito Capoletti placed the pizza on John and Liz's tables, Garfield took a dump on the pizza, which caused John to make a horrifying face. Finally, John and Odie did not appear behind Garfield when he sat in his chair. No, instead... Colonel Dodo appeared smoking a pipe as Garfield said, "Hey, meat." The title of the episode then came on screen and it read, A Ghostly Encounter. The title card showed Garfield and Odie as ghosts scratching their balls and scaring John and Herman the postman. And with that, the episode then started with John, Garfield, and Odie arriving at a large haunted mansion on the outskirts of town. John parked the car in the parking lot and said, "Now remember, guys, if we stay the entire night, we get $10,000. $10,000 isn't enough to stay in a haunted mansion," Garfield muttered as the trio made their way out of the car and into the mansion as sinister music began to play in the background. The episode then cut to nighttime and showed that John was getting ready to go to bed. Garfield and Odie, meanwhile, had been forced to stay in a guest room due to John thinking the chairs were older than the pyramids. Whatever that means. While getting their beds set up, Garfield and Odie heard a loud murmuring sound coming from the foyer of the mansion. The pair decided to check it out since they were both having trouble getting to sleep anyway. What's this, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo? Arriving at the foyer, Garfield dispatched Odie to investigate. Odie looked around the entire room but couldn't see anything of interest. Suddenly the lights all switched off and a loud annoying breeze sound could be heard echoing throughout the building. "Come on, Odie, let's go back to bed," Garfield said, when all of a sudden a ghostly figure appeared from behind him. It was a ghost of Lehman. Boo, I'm a ghost. For those of you who don't know, Lehman was the original owner of Odie and was also a friend of Johnny in the original Garfield comic strips. However, Lehman was eventually erased from the comic strips in 1983. He actually made a couple appearances on the Garfield show, but not as a ghost, though he may as well have been dead. Garfield and Odie seemed to recognize Lehman, with Garfield saying, "Lehman? Is it really you? Gosh, it's been like, 6 years?" "More like 37 years, Lehman said before continuing with, "After I was taken out of your comic strips, I was forced to get a dead-end job selling orange juice to wealthy business people." Lehman then went on to explain that in 2006 he was killed by the Russian mafia after getting information about to the feds. Sadly, because of how boring he was in life, Lehman was never allowed to cross over to the other side. He was forced by the underworld to remain in his house. The only way Lehman would be able to get into the underworld would be by scaring the town's mayor Lionel Macduff so much that he died from fright. With Macduff dead, the underworld would seize control of the town and then the world. Garfield and Odie turned to leave, only to get stopped by Lehman, who said, "Not so fast. I can't have you pesky fools ruining my big plan." "Oh gosh, get on with it, will you?" Garfield asked as Lehman responded with, "As you wish, Garfield." Lehman then shot 2 lightning bolts out from his fingers at Garfield and Odie. The pair fell to the floor and fell into a deep slumber. They awoke 2 hours later and found that they were no longer Garfield and Odie. They were no ghosts. Now you two shall suffer my fate. Lehman said evilly, like the giant douche that he was. Meanwhile, John woke up from a bad dream and headed downstairs to make himself a cup of cafefe. While making the cafefe, John came across the ghost of Lehman and remarked, "Nice try, Garfield, but I know ghosts aren't real because it says so on the internet." Lehman laughed a wicked laugh before pulling an incredibly scary face. It was so scary that it caused Stinky to fly out of the room in fear. "What a coward," I muttered as the episodes continued to show that Lehman's face caused John to die from shock. "John!" Garfield cried, as Lehman said evilly, "With John dead, now it's time to kill Macduff!" With that, Lehman flew through the walls of the mansion toward the town. Then, without warning, the episode cut to show a really weird clip which had Captain Crunch and some weird giraffe-looking thing sitting on a huge pile of Captain Crunch cereal. "Now next time, let's not wish so hard," Captain Crunch proclaimed. Then the episode cut to the show. I assumed it was Mayor Macduff eating eggs. He was a big chungus. I guess it's about time I said that in one of these videos. If you don't mind me saying, he ate like 9,000 eggs. Now, that's just greed. Mayor Macduff was yapping on about how he was planning on opening a brand new freeway. It's really frickin' boring. All it did was make me want some eggs on toast. Watching these two clips, Snivel popped around and asked for some sugar. However, when he saw that was playing on the television, he smiled a wickedly evil smirk. The kind of smirk that only a mother could love. Snivel then proclaimed, "Rachel Cabal hears about this. Major Brownlee points for the Snively. Snivel, I will demise you." With that, Snivel teleported back to the underworld in order to inform Kabosh about his findings. "What was that about?" I asked, confused, as Fatso responded, "Don't worry about it, let's keep watching the damn show." The episode then came back to show Garfield and Odie moping about John's death. So sad. "We've got to do something, Odie. We can't allow Lehman and the underworld to take over the entire world." Garfield and Odie then went through the wall and began flying toward the town. They made a quick stop at Vito's Pizzeria, where they stole a huge platter of pizzas right from under Vito's nose. "El what?" Vito asked, dumbfounded, as he began sobbing on the counter like a little bitch. Well, at least I think he was sobbing. It sounded more like a car alarm going off, if you ask me. Maybe they ran out of money for sound effects. Meanwhile, Lehman had been spending his time going around town scaring the pants off of people. That's when he looked at his pocket watch. The time had come. Lehman made his way over to the freeway where Mayor Macduff was just about to do the unveiling. "Ladies and gentlemen, today is such a special day. Today is the day that—" "Stop right there!" Lehman proclaimed as he appeared from being Macduff. Upon seeing Lehman's ghostly form, Macduff began screaming hysterically, as did the rest of the crowd. Then Garfield and Odie shut up and tried their best to pull Lehman away, which only served to make Macduff scream even more. He screamed so much that the windows of our mansion ended up breaking in the process. Mayor Macduff then fell to the floor dead for having a prenatally... Remember, I'm a ghost. Died of shock. That's when Garfield came to a pretty shocking conclusion. He actually enjoyed being a ghost and scaring people. This greatly confused Odie, but he soon came to the same conclusion after reading up on the stock trade. Not really sure how that helped him understand Garfield's plight, but whatever, let's go along with it. Garfield and Odie then watched on in amazement as Hyman summoned the underworld who rose from the ground. The underworld took control of the entire world, while Garfield, Odie, and Lehman were given control of the town. The trio spent the rest of their day scaring people and pulling pranks. Garfield was able to scare the ever-living daylights out of Herman the postman and spent most of his time tormenting Herman and Nermal. Odie, meanwhile, used his new ghostly form to get revenge on the neighborhood dogs who often scared the shit out of him and Garfield. Lehman, meanwhile, used his ghostly ways to infiltrate the government, eventually took over as the new mayor, replacing Lionel Macduff in the process. And with that, the episode ended with the normal credits. Credits. After we were done watching the program, a loud knock occurred at the front door of the mansion. Stretch got up to go and see who it was. "It's probably the Snoop again," Stretch muttered as he made his way over to the door, only to have the door swung in his face as Kibosh and Snivel made their way inside the mansion. "Now that I've found you, slackers, I'm going to tie a sheep tank around ye," Kibosh proclaimed as Stretch yelled, "Not today!" Stinky, Stretch, and Fatso then pulled out swords and began fighting with Kibosh. I, meanwhile, was trying my absolute best to evade Snivel's pursuit. I managed to suck him up using a vacuum cleaner because fuck Ghostbusters, durr. Unfortunately, the same success cannot be said for my uncles, who failed miserably in trying to defeat Kibosh, who were far too strong for all of them. Kibosh picked them up in a cat carrier and said, "Now to apprehend your friend Kanka." Suddenly another knock occurred on the front door. That's strange. I only get knocks from Mormons. I got up to go and see who it was. It was a bomb expert hired by General Asquith. The expert saw Kibosh and fainted. I then looked over to the other side of the room, and there right beside Kibosh sat a huge stack of dynamite. I ran over to the stack of TNT and ate it all up in one big bite. I know, I'm a ghost, but whatever. Just go along with it. I let out a massive fart. That's more believable, which ended up sending Kibosh flying across the entire fricking room. My uncles, meanwhile, were able to escape the cat carrier. After I was done, me and the others made our way out of the mansion and saw that Mayor Rodney Dangerfield had pulled up on the scene. Mayor Rodney Dangerfield is our city's mayor. He loves to tell wickedly wicked one-liners. He deserves more respect. "Hey, I've been inside all day long! It's been insane all along! We must preserve our historic landmarks!" Mayor Rodney Dangerfield proclaimed happily as he began dancing in the streets with his undercover lover. It's quite a beautiful sight, to be honest with you. That's what I like to think anyway. I'm a pretty open-minded individual. Kibosh then came up from behind me and threw me inside the cat carrier along with my uncles. We were then taken over to the underworld where Kibosh forced us to attend his scare school. The scare school was ran by none other than Snivel. "You, the rookies, will be learning the agencies of the ghost life, ha 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 ha." Snivel laughed, hysterically, while me and my uncles groaned into our tables. Snivel was a terrible teacher. Didn't know a damn thing about scaring or being a ghost. I have no idea why Kibosh hired Snivel for the job, but I smell a bit of bullshit if you don't mind me saying. You know what's bullshit? I don't care if you do. Or don't, to be quite honest with you. I'm just saying. I really don't. I tried asking Kibosh whether me and my uncles could return to the normal world, but he said, "Nachos." Like nachos without an H. Yes, Kibosh became Welsh for some bizarre reason. Nachos! Anyways, Kibosh explained to me that the only way we'd be able to return to the normal world was by scaring General Asquith so much that he died. So essentially me and my uncles were put in Lehman's shoes. Well, I didn't even have shoes in that episode because, he was a ghost and shit, but apparently we fart and eat and do stuff like that despite being ghosts. To conclude, my uncles and I have begun scheming a scheme to get revenge on Kibosh. We're not really sure how or when we're going to execute it. Just trust me when I say it's going to involve some TNT and a whole lot of M&Ms. Stay away from the green ones that make you horny, unless that's what you want if you're Leisure Suit Larry. Speaking of which, while in the underworld, I came across MT Bar. MT Bar seems to be doing quite good for himself, despite now being a ghost, quite good. "Yo, what's up besides the sun?" MT asked while marveling his ghostly body. You know something? For a chocolate bar, he was surprisingly vain. Just you wait till they release the low-calorie version. Then you'll never hear the end of it. I never thought that one episode of the Garfield show could cause so much damage. I want to get revenge on my uncles for my poor treatment. But I didn't realize that doing so would have such disastrous consequences. After we get revenge on Kibosh, I'm considering getting a movie deal. I know the security guard from Tesco could help me swing a piece on the round table. Perhaps one day we will have our sweet revenge. Maybe one day, Revenge of the Nerds. Goodbye, for I've got another lesson with Snivel. This one's all about cardboard boxes and telemarketers and Mormons.